What are the 5 trends shaping the future of work? Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of The Future in 5. My name is Jacob Morgan, and this is where I share my thoughts, ideas, and commentary on the future of work in 5 minutes or less. Today I wanted to talk about something that I've written about quite a bit, but I haven't actually done a video on, and that is the 5 trends that are shaping the future of work, as mentioned in this fantastic book that you should all read. It goes very well with a glass of wine. Anyway, so the 5 trends shaping the future of work. Number 1, millennials entering the workplace. And I've since kind of expanded this a little bit to focus on demographics in general. But by 2020, millennials are going to be the majority of the workforce. By 2025, they're going to be 75% of the workforce. But we're also starting to see people retire later from organizations, and people that do retire actually end up staying in the workforce by becoming freelancers. So that's one big trend that we have to look out for. Trend number 2 is new behaviors. These are new behaviors that are entering our organizations, and these are new behaviors that we've learned and have developed as a result of social technologies and the web, etc. These are things like real-time feedback. These are changes in how we communicate and collaborate and teach and educate and how we purchase things, and even the fact that we live such a very public life. I always tell people, if I were to go back in time and come visit you and say, hey, one day I'll know your entire professional work history, I'll know everything about you just by looking you up online, you'd think that I'm nuts. But look at where we are. That's exactly the type of scenario that we are seeing today. The third trend that we're seeing is around mobility. And mobility is essentially this idea that all you need is to connect to work. In other words, where you are, it doesn't really matter. If you have a reliable internet connection, then you have the ability to connect into your organization, into all the technologies and the people and the platforms that you need to get your job done. The story I always like to use is when I went to China, traveled around for a month. I went to a remote rice paddy field and saw a farmer that had a smartphone. And again, I live in the Bay Area, which, big tech and innovation hub. And here we are thousands of miles away. The guy has a smartphone in a rice paddy field, access to the same information that I have living in the Bay Area. So those are trends 1, 2, and 3. Trend number 4 is around technology. And technology, these are all sorts of really cool platforms that we're seeing. Collaboration platforms, the Internet of Things, big data, gamification, robots and automation, you name it, and all of these things fall into the technology bucket. And all of these technologies are really shaping the way that we communicate and collaborate and how we get our jobs done. And the 5th and final trend that we're seeing is around globalization. And globalization is essentially this idea of operating in a world where boundaries of any kind do not exist. In other words, the language that you speak, the currency that you transact in, where you are located, the culture that you subscribe to, none of these things are mattering as much. They're all starting to matter less and less and less. And the world as a whole is pretty much just becoming like a big city, right? It's, all these things are starting to matter less and less. So these are the 5 trends shaping the future of work. We have mobility, globalization, technology, millennials and demographics, and globalization. I don't think I think those are the 5, yeah. If I repeated one of them twice, then you can always go back in the video and see what the 5 were. So this is ultimately what organizations are trying to figure out what to do about, right? The future of work is largely being impacted by these 5 trends, and that's where companies are trying to sort of wrap their mind around, what do we do about millennials entering the workforce and the fact that our employees are retiring later? What do we do about these new technologies? What do we do about the fact that globalization allows us to hire from anywhere in the world? What do we do about, all these things that are impacting the way that we get our jobs done? And this is ultimately what I try to explore through the podcast, through the video series, through the book. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. Which one of these 5 trends do you think are going to impact you and your organization the most? Maybe I'll do a separate video talking about each one of these trends in more detail, but this is kind of just a a big overview of what these 5 trends are. So let me know what you think. What are you interested in as far as these 5 trends go, and which one of these 5 trends are impacting you and your organization the most? I think over the next couple of years, these are going to be pretty much the 5 things for us to pay attention to. So I'll see you next time on another episode of The Future in 5. And in the meantime, give this some thought, leave a comment. If you want to get access to more of these videos and the podcast and the articles and stuff like that, you can visit thefutureorganization.com. Or if you work for a large organization and you're interested in connecting with some of these other forward-thinking brands, you can check out the FOW community at fowcommunity.com. As usual, you can find me on Twitter at JacobM. All that going to be in the links below. See you next time. Hey, are you interested in the future of work? If so, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can get all the latest content on the future of work and stay up to date on all the latest trends and happenings. Not to mention, you will make me very, very happy. Make sure to subscribe.